Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Red Hawks Spotlight. Today we're going to be interviewing Ian Johnson, senior defender on the Montclair State soccer team. Ian, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I wanted to start off by talking about your soccer career. So you were recruited from Morristown High School to come play here at MSU.
Correct.
So I'm assuming you've played soccer basically your whole life, right? So what really drew you to start playing soccer, and what's gotten you to continue playing all this time?
I never really had a choice growing up. My older brother, he's 11 years older than me. He was always playing soccer, so when I was born, he forced me, even before I could kick a ball, to kick a ball. And then I always wanted to be like him. So as soon as I could start walking and kick a ball myself, I jumped onto a team, started playing with people that were older than me, and fell in love with it. And I just wanted to be exactly like him. So he was definitely a big influence in why I started playing soccer.
So I'm sure Coach Tumulty was probably a big reason of why you decided to come here to Montclair State. So I know he has a large history of success here. Ever since he's been here, there's been like NCAA tournaments, different conference championships and stuff. What exactly has he taught you, not only as a player, but like as a person as well?
He's taught me many lessons on the field, but also off the field. One big one, which I didn't really have in high school or in leagues coming up into college, was getting a community with my teammates and building a relationship that can translate off the field to on the field. He makes sure that we have each other's backs, we're always there for each other, and we take care of each other. So that's one thing that I really value that he taught us, and to make sure that we show on and off the field.
Do you and any of your teammates feel any sort of pressure to like continue finding success as a team, just to because like all of this like success that he's had, just like do you feel like there's pressure?
Absolutely. Montclair State, especially in our conference, in the NJAC conference, we're always the either 1 or 2 or at least top 5. Coming into this year, we were ranked 4th in the nation, so we always have that target on our backs. Everyone always wants to beat us, so definitely when you get recruited here, he tells you like we always have that pressure. We always have to live up to our expectation.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about a little bit about last season. You guys got to the Elite Eight. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I wanted to actually talk about the opening round that you guys were in. You tight game against Colby College. You had a huge win. You won 4-3 in PKs. I mean, there's nothing more exciting than that.
Yeah.
But in the second overtime, you made a really big play to save the goal that probably ultimately saved the season. Can you describe that moment? Like, what was going through your head?
Well, I think it was double overtime or second overtime, yeah. And I don't know, it was just kind of back and forth the whole game. There wasn't really anyone who was dominating over the other team, so I just knew to kind of play it safe. And when I saw a ball get crossed over our goalie was out of his box, and I just kind of went back on his line just to kind of cover him. It all happened so fast, I don't really remember, but then after the fact, everyone just kind of looked around and we were like, oh wow, like we really could have just been out. So yeah, that was probably one of my favorite memories, just because we wouldn't have gotten to the Elite Eight other than the fact that my team had a big part of it. It was special for me.
What did your brother think about that? Because I know you just said he was a big influence on you. Was he pretty excited about all that?
Yeah, he's like my #1 fan. So after the game, he always texts me, and my mom and him were like, "You guys like really could have been out. So good job," because you don't really get a lot of glory playing in defense. It's usually the goal scorers that get all the glory. But in that moment, I kind of felt a little of the glory that I haven't really received. Not that I need it or I necessarily deserve it over anybody else, but it felt nice.
Okay. So obviously, after making it to the Elite Eight last season, what is your guys' expectations for this season as a team?
Every year we always expect it's always win the conference and get at least to the Final Four of the national championship. So that's exactly what we're trying to do this year. We had a bit of a rough start. We're 8-4 right now, but it's still the same goal, still trying to take it one game at a time and not look too far into the future, but yeah.
Where do you guys think you can improve after, you were just saying you kind of like a little bit of a rocky start, like where do you guys think as a team you guys can improve as a whole?
I think we just need to work on putting away our chances. We have a lot of depth on our team, so we have a lot of guys that can rotate in, a lot of forwards that can come in and make a difference. And it's all just about the final product and making sure we get our shots on target and making it count.
Okay, so on the flip side of that, what would you say is the team's biggest strength so far this season?
I think our biggest strength is our defending on all parts of the field. Our forwards always track back. They're always pressing their defenders. Our back line are all returners. We're all seniors. So our way of play, we know how to play our game. We're really comfortable with each other, and we know how each other act. So I think defending is definitely one of our big strong suits.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a chance to highlight someone else on the team. Who do you think's made the most improvements this season, has really become like a key contributor in the team's efforts so far this season?
Probably my fellow center backs. We play three in the back, three center backs, and I'm the central of the three center backs. But my teammates to my right and left, Devon Foster and Damian I can never pronounce his last name. Kolajic. He's Polish. They both have like made huge improvements since starting in that same position last year that they both play, and I would be like nothing without them. I'm usually there to clean up anything in the back, but they're the ones that are hustling the entire game, making sure I look good, so that I definitely owe a lot to them.
I'd like to change topics here real quick, because not only are you known for playing soccer here in MSU, but you're also known for coming out publicly as gay. Take us through the process of what it was like before you decided to come out to your teammates and everything. So, what was it like interacting with family, friends, and your teammates? And, it must have been difficult for you not being able to be your true self.
Yeah, absolutely. My family was always super open about different aspects of life, and I grew up in a pretty liberal family. My dad was a professional ballet dancer, and my mom was a photographer, so like they were super artistic in their own sense. So I always grew up with musical theater and stuff that some people wouldn't consider super masculine. So I think I always kind of tried to challenge masculinity even before I did come out, when I identified as a straight male. But I always, I kind of always knew I was, but I never really wanted to accept it. So I always had girlfriends in high school. I had a 3-year-long relationship before coming out, and it wasn't until actually coming to Montclair that it was after my fall season, my freshman year, that I just came to the realization I was. And they were super, super supportive about it. My older brother, who I mentioned before, he actually is transgender, so he was born a woman, or a female, and transitioned to a male. So he kind of took my spotlight, but when I eventually came out, it was kind of, in the best sense, it wasn't a big deal to them at all, because they already kind of had to go through his transition, so that when I came out, they're like, oh, cool. And I was like, thanks, yeah.
So was there one person in particular that you decided to talk to first?
Yes, actually, it's she doesn't go here to Montclair, but one of my best friends from home. I remember me and her both went to go to Columbia University to watch our friend play a basketball game. She plays for Colgate. And I was sitting on the ground of Penn Station, and this was on our way home, so the entire train ride there, I wanted to tell her, and I couldn't. We went to the game and everything. I didn't want it to be weird at the game. And then we were sitting on the ground of Penn Station, and I just turned to her, I said, Allie, I'm gay. And she said, really? And I said, yeah. And I started sobbing on the floor of Penn Station during rush hour. But it was a weird moment, because it kind of felt like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulder. And I finally kind of felt some comfort in that. So yeah, but she was a big reason for my coming out.
So let me ask you then, what was it like when you got to tell your brother? Because it seems like he was such a big influence on you.
It was, I mean, a lot of people say it wasn't like the biggest shock of their life, and so I think he kind of always had this idea of like I possibly could be, but also going back to the fact that my family is super open, and we like always tried to challenge those masculine stereotypes. He was just super proud of me for actually coming out, especially in college. He was expecting it to be a harder transition for me, but it wasn't at all. I definitely picked the right place to be in that, in coming out.
So sorry to keep going back to the same topic, but like going out to your teammates, just like, in my head, I'm just imagining just like a room full of people and you're just telling them, but like I'm sure that's definitely not how it went, right?
No, yeah. So I actually came out New Year's of my freshman year in 2016, going into 2017, and I just posted on Instagram. I didn't even tell anyone, and so I didn't want to make it a thing. Like I told a few people, and then people were like, "Oh, I heard he's gay." I didn't want it to be one of those things. I wanted to be super open about it. So I just posted on social media, and then there wasn't really much said when I got back. They were just kind of like, oh hey, and then gradually I started being more comfortable to talk about it with them. And I have like the best teammates in the entire world. They were super accepting, and they always ask me questions too, which I really appreciate because they're educating themselves. And even if they did have prior judgment towards the LGBTQ community, I think I've helped them understand my perspective and their understanding towards everything, which could be beneficial in the long run for their whole judgment on people.
So let me ask you then, so now that you're finally open about it, how has that affected not only like your relationships with your teammates, but just like your personal life in general?
I've like never been happier. I was like super depressed in high school just because I was always wrestling with the fact that I might be, and I never wanted to accept it. But I've been super happy. I've been in relationships that I actually felt something. And I feel like just as a person, I'm more outgoing. I can really act and say what I feel. And I think it also shows in like my playing on the field too. I'm just more confident in all aspects of life.
Okay, so I wanted to highlight some of the things that have come up because of this, because a fellow student of ours, Kylie Makarski, she did a feature on you about coming out publicly, and not only was it like big around here on campus, it was big beyond campus actually. What was that kind of like? Can you tell me about that experience?
It was kind of emotional actually. I didn't expect the whole attention, all the attention from it. Outsports Media contacted me and asked to do a story on me, and then from that I got a bunch of messages from other out athletes that were younger than me saying how it meant so much to see like someone like me coming out in college being able to play a sport and being okay with it. And I remember sending it to my mom, and she's like just me coming out makes such a huge difference, even though to me it was just kind of like whatever. Like not a lot of people have the family I do that is so accepting. So just to see other people out there for the younger person that I wish I could have seen, I think was super beneficial for other people.
Okay. And actually ESPN came and did a feature on you as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
What was that like getting to work with ESPN? I mean,
It was really cool. Izzy Gutierrez, who's an NBA sideline reporter, came. And he was like one of the greatest guys. He asked me a lot of challenging questions about what it was like growing up, and brought up certain things from like grade school and high school that I didn't want to have to like really go back to, but it was kind of nice to see how far I've came. And just the fact that Kylie's video and like what she's done has gotten so much attention that Izzy Gutierrez from ESPN came to Montclair State was super, super cool. And my coach got to be interviewed, and I think he thought that was pretty cool. He's not normally the type of guy that does that type of thing, so it's kind of funny to see him out there sitting on like the turf with him talking about me being gay. So it was pretty fun.
so I'd like to get your opinion on a national topic. I know your major is gender and women's studies. Why do you think that there's so many women athletes that are able to come out as gay, like Sue Bird, Megan Rapinoe, Elena Deladon, while for like men athletes, it just seems like male athletes, it just seems like it's so frowned upon and just like strange for them to do it?
I think there's not a lot of representation of queer male athletes out in professional sports, which is one of the things I wasn't able to look up to, like the women's sport does. There could be a queer girl out there that looks up to Megan Rapinoe and Sue Bird, like you said, and she feels comfort in coming out and playing the sport that she plays. But I never really had that person to look up to, especially in my sport. So I think hopefully in the future more and more will come out. And even at like the college level, like I said, like I got messages from little boys like saying how it meant so much to them and how I was a role model to them. So hopefully in the future, more professional athletes can come out for a more wider audience.
All right, so last question for you. What would your message be to any fellow student athletes who are struggling and maybe afraid to come out publicly?
Just to like stay the course. It's not always going to be the easiest. It's not always going to be as smooth as you would like it to be, but it always will get better and it always will work out in the end. And if it's not your time, it's not your time, to not force it, but also don't hide yourself. the closet's a scary place to be in. So if you can find an ally or someone that you can go to and just to even talk about it, definitely try to find that person.
All right, and I wanted to thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah,
I
thanks for
appreciate you
having
coming
me.
on for the interview. This has been another edition of Red Hawk Spotlight. My name is Nick Jackham.